100 Real-Life Days of Minecraft Day 3. If you haven't seen the first 2 days, it would make sense to go and watch them first, but the gist of it is every episode is one real-life day of gameplay, and we won't stop until we've done 100 of them. Now, last episode I did say that I would do some live recording, but that was before I remembered I had a cat, and so half of my recording day looks like this, and a bunch of my audio sounds like this. Broccoli, oh, you're so nice. Such a good boy. Stop biting my microphone. Broccoli, stop. Stop it. Broccoli. Oh my god. Stop. Oh, I love you. Go away. Oh my gosh. I love you so much. Nasty, horrid child. Oh, I love you. Ah. So let's just stick to voiceover recording for now. I started by going straight back to the mesa to get that new spider spawner XP farm up and running. The one back at the base is convenient, it's very close, but it also doesn't give us anywhere near enough XP, and we were going to need a lot of it for today, because we're basically dealing with villagers and going to the nether. I'm not going to show you the entire process of me making this XP farm because you've seen it before, but as I was lighting the caves up, I found another XP farm, this time a skeleton spawner. So I lit it up and decided I would come back for it later, looked in this chest and found a name tag. I could have had this name tag last episode if I had just looked hard enough, but hey ho. You can see here just how close it is to the spider spawner. It's literally just down the corridor. So I made a mental note of where it was in the hopes that I could link the spider spawner and the skeleton spawner up later down the line. Now, I mentioned when I was making my last spider spawner that I was glad that those spiders weren't poisonous spiders, and unfortunately these ones are. You can see the issue that they cause because they are very fast and, as the name suggests, they can poison you. So it was a little bit of a struggle getting myself back out of the killing chamber once I had gotten rid of all the lights, but eventually we sort of weaseled our way past these spiders and locked them off. And you can already see the difference it makes having 2 spider spawners in there instead of 1. Also, having lit up the caves around the area meant that a lot more spiders were spawning in here and the XP was just rolling in. I was hoping I could find a spot that would keep the skeleton spawner and the spider spawners active, but after doing a bit of testing, I found that they were just a little bit too far apart for that to work out. I spent the rest of the day and night AFKing at the spider spawner farm and then whacking away at the spiders to get plenty of levels before we headed back to the village. It was going to be a while before I wanted to come back to the mesa again. I grabbed some quick food on the go because I had completely ran out during our last adventure, and as we were heading home I said hello to that area we marked off last time as a future build site. Then I stumbled across a couple horses and I had found a saddle in my adventures in the mines and I thought, yeah, why not? So I grabbed myself a horse who was not particularly fast, but it was still faster than walking, and I rode that horse all the way home. I didn't have anywhere to put him and I was feeling kinda lazy, so I just broke the front door of my house down and rode him inside. I'll deal with it some other time. I was trying to spend some of the levels that we got on the EXP farm, but it turns out that the horse wasn't particularly happy with my decision to deal with it some other time, and he was making a bit of a fuss, so I decided to continue to deal with it some other time. You stay in that corner, you nasty little... I got a pretty decent sword enchantment, went to find my Fletcher, and it turns out he had died. And then it also turns out that our farmer had turned into a zombie. I'll be the first to admit that I've not taken the best care of this village since I've moved in. I just hate fencing off or walling off areas and towns. I checked to make sure that my favourite villager was still there, and he was, thank goodness. And then I set about getting a brand new Fletcher, completely forgetting that for some reason everyone in this town absolutely hates fletching jobs. I left that block with him, I wandered around, and eventually when I came back to him, he had taken the job. But it took a while. But no matter, because it doesn't take very long at all to get him up to the level where he can buy string. And we have a lot of string now that we have about 3 different spider spawners in our world. String gets emeralds, emeralds get mending books stop your gear from breaking. I was just topping up some levels at the local spider spawner when I ran up to the surface and saw that this baby zombie was terrorising a villager, but not anymore. I'm going to start taking my role as a self-appointed mayor seriously and take care of these villagers from now on. Aside from turning them into zombies and you know what I mean. I made some gold boots because unfortunately I couldn't put it off any longer. It was time to hop into the nether. I looked back home, I wished my villagers goodbye, and I stepped in through the portal. We need to find a nether fortress, and I have notoriously bad luck with nether fortresses, so I had no idea how long we were going to be in here for. I refamiliarized myself with my spawn, picked a direction to go in, and then just kept going in that direction. I bridged out, I ran across things, I looked around, I lowered render distances, I upped render distances, and it took a very long time to find what we were looking for. But along the way, I found this fun fellow. I was thoroughly confused. I had no idea why he had a pumpkin on his head. And then I found a bunch of other guys that looked just like him with pumpkins on their heads too. It wasn't until basically recording this audio today that I remembered I recorded this part on Halloween, and so it makes a little more sense now. I thought I could see something through the fog here, so I upped my render distance to get a better look, and thankfully I was right. It was the bridge of a nether fortress. This took a while, but not as long as it often can, so I bridged over to it and somehow managed to bridge right into the blaze spawner, which was a little bit scary, but also pretty good, because I was going to need quite a few of these blaze rods in the future for potion brewing and also making Eyes of Ender. So I clapped another couple of these guys with some pretty close calls. I really hate being here without fire res, but it wasn't so bad. I had a little look around the rest of the fortress, and unfortunately it's a pretty bad fortress. A lot of it is sort of underneath the netherrack. But eventually I did find the nether wart room, which is another thing I was needing, and being in a single player world means I can take every single bit of it and I don't have to save any of it for anyone else, which is very, very handy. So I grabbed all of it, I got rid of this assailant who was blocking my way back out of the fortress, and then I happily scooted off back home again. I wasn't going to spend any more time in the nether than I really needed to today. I was very, very happy when I came back through, found out it was daytime, and I was back in my nice little area. I was feeling pretty chuffed with myself. Just like the horse, I didn't actually have a plan for where my nether wart farm was going to go, so for now, it's just going to go where my bed was. It was probably not the best decision, but I've made it now. The blaze rods power the brewing stand, and I could finally make splash potions of weakness. This was a huge part in the plan to get all of my villagers to give me major discounts. I don't really want to be spending 20-something emeralds on a book anymore, so my favourite villager went in to say hello to Stinkmaster 5000 and become a stinky boy himself. This is the easiest way to get good discounts consistently. You just turn your villagers into zombies themselves, and then you cure them. They're so thankful to you for curing them that they absolutely slash their prices, and you can send them in a good couple times to do this, so you can end up having trades that are 1 stick for 1 emerald, or 1 emerald for 1 book. With our favourite villager now back to normal, I deposited him back into the safety of his little house, and I took advantage of those 1 emerald mending trades. Then I popped the door back on it to keep him nice and safe and put my Fletcher through the same pain that I had put him through. I promise that I will take very good care of these guys once they've all transformed back into being non-smelly boys again, but this is just part of the process, unfortunately. I'm still being a very good self-appointed mayor, I promise. See, that's him done now. I bet you he's totally fine. Let's have a look. Oh, look at him. He's, 25 sticks for an emerald. That's still kind of high. I'll just one more time. Let's not think about it. I started planting some wheat and flattening out this hill at the back here because I wanted to make another hobbit hole building, but this time it would be for my villagers, not for me. Eventually I want to give them all their own houses, but for now it's probably better if I keep them all together. You've seen what happens to them when they have free will. It's absolute carnage. But in the meantime, whilst I thought up a plan for that building, I thought, let's make our sugarcane farm an actual sugarcane farm. So I got rid of a bunch of sugarcane and just left this 1 row behind, and then I got building a farm. Again, I'm not totally sure how to explain how to build these things, but basically you put pistons 1 row above the bottom of the sugarcane, and then you put observers on top of those pistons. Those observers will observe the sugarcane growing, and when the sugarcane grows in front of the observer's eyes, it will activate the pistons into pushing all the sugarcane forward, breaking it, and it will put itself into a collection area that we'll make down below. It's pretty simple redstone stuff. I'm just not very good at explaining these things. I put a little bit of water down so that when the sugarcane does break, it all flows into the chest I've put in there, and then I covered that whole area up with glass to make sure that I didn't lose anything when it gets broken off. A quick test, and it all seemed to be working perfectly. It was flowing where it needed to flow, it was collecting where it needed to collect, and this will continue to work as long as I'm in the area. However, I decided at this point to go out of the area because we needed some slime. And for some slime, we need to find a swamp. I don't sound very happy about it because it took a very long time to find said swamp. I did stop off in the mesa because I needed some terracotta and red sandstone for the build that I was thinking of doing for the hobbit hole, and I saw this wandering trader and I was really hoping for some drip leaf, but instead he just gave me his leads entirely of his own volition. You might notice that we're now on a different horse, and that is simply because I hate horses in Minecraft. I have absolutely no loyalty to them when I get them. I find them really cumbersome and annoying. And I think actually this one was slower than the last one, but hey ho. With this horse, we found the very cursed looking tall birch biome. I know it's meant to be rare, but I hate how it looks. We kept going and eventually we found that swamp. I think it's about 1,000 or 2,000 blocks from home. As much as I'm not the biggest fan of the horses, I still want this horse to live, so I made him a little pen whilst I stayed in the swamp and penned him in. We were going to be here for a while. I had heard somewhere that I needed to be out of the chunk to render in the slime, so the way that the next few days worked was I would climb the trees, tower up, have a look around, find a slime, break the tower back down again, go and kill said slime, and do that all the way through the night. Then, during the day, when the slimes weren't coming out, I would use the clay patches to look for diamonds. This is how I spent, I think, about 5 or 6 Minecraft days. It took a while to get what we wanted to get, but eventually we got about a stack of slime and about a stack of diamonds as well, so I decided it was time to call it a day. I broke the horse out of his little pen and we headed for home, where another creeper came in and blew up. Honestly, I think I'm desensitized to it at this point. More importantly, our 3 furnaces are just not cutting it anymore, and I've actually been keeping a bit of a secret from you guys. In between bigger projects, I've been going back here and I have been doing a bit of digging. Eventually, I think I'll turn this area into an entire smelting room or a furnace room and just have the process of getting sand and glass and ores go a little bit quicker than it is currently. But that's a day 4 job because now it was time to finally start working on that villager hall. I was going to go and use my favourite villager to show you how the mechanism works in here, but unfortunately on my way over there I spotted that he had been turned into a zombie once again. Nothing that we can't fix, but it would mean that we'd have to come and get him at a little bit of a later date. So for now, I went and got my second favourite villager, which is my Fletcher, and I moved him into his forever home instead. So the way the mechanism works basically is you can pop him on top of that piston, that sticky piston, and on top of this repeater you put his jaw block, in front of that you put a lever, and that will lever him up so that he can see his jaw block and not get attacked by the zombie that's going to be in there behind him. I did this a couple times to a couple villagers and it went wrong a lot. Like every other villager, something went wrong. This will only be about a minute of the video maybe, but this took hours in real time. I could not understand why they kept jumping off to the side like that. But eventually I got enough of them in there that I thought it was time to bring over our zombie. So I lured him over at nighttime so that he wouldn't burn, and then I trapped him in behind the villagers. I will leave the tutorial that I followed in the description below, but basically when those villagers are up at their jaw blocks, he cannot infect them. And when I flick the lever and put them down, he can. So it's a very easy way to get villagers infected and uninfected as and when you need them to lower their prices. Now that I had a consistent way to make emeralds nice and cheap, it was time to get the librarians in. And this is the most time-consuming part of any villager haul. You just have to, I don't even know how to explain it. I'll just show you. This clip here, this clip is 17 minutes long. The entire clip is me trading with one villager. If I put it on the timeline, I'll just pick a random spot, any random spot in this clip, and I will be trading. You can see in real time, look, oh, I don't want that one. I'll have to break this thing. I'll put it back down. Let me have a little look. And I don't want that one, so I'll break this thing and then put it back down. Have another look. 17 minutes. That's 17 minutes of doing that with one guy. Oh boy, I was getting pretty tired of it, but eventually we got most of the trades that I wanted to get, and we could move on for the day. I asked this wandering trader if he had any blocks that I might be interested in, and he actually did. I quite like vines. I've not found a jungle yet, so I bought a bunch of them, and then my mind's kind of gone blank for what happened next. I don't remember, which is unfortunate. Anyway, one of the villagers in my trading hall is a cartographer who is selling the Ocean Explorer map, so I grabbed it and I popped it on my wall for a future adventure. I love using prismarine blocks, and that's the best place to get them. Having a bunch of wheat fields looks really nice, and it's really nice and practical, but it does leave you with a lot of seeds in your inventory. So I thought for a little bit of a quality of life change, I would make an automatic composter for those seeds, which was just a chest, and then a hopper, and then a composter, and then a hopper, and then a chest. I didn't look up a tutorial for this one, which for me was actually really quite good, and I was chuffed when it worked. You just put the seeds in the top chest, they go through the hopper, into the composter, they compost into bone meal, they go through the hopper, and then they land in the second chest. I was feeling pretty proud of myself when I saw that first bit of bone meal go through into the chest. Sometimes it's the little things. When I was harvesting my carrots, this little guy came up and asked for some, so of course I said yes, and then immediately remembered about Peppa Pip. It had been so long since we went to go and see him, so I ran over, and finally I had some carrots to give to him when we did see him, but he wasn't there. I was so upset. I thought, where could he have gone? So I checked every pig in the nearby vicinity to see if we could find him, and this part was very cute, but it wasn't Peppa Pip. So I kept going, checking all the different pigs, and I was starting to lose hope until, there we go. I felt genuine happiness when I found him. So I thought, you know what, you're coming with me. I popped a lead on him and I brought him back to the village. For now, he can live in here, but I promise that we will make an area for him, maybe even next episode. After leveling up this cleric, I saw that he had an ender pearl trade, and I was immediately taken over by the idea that I wanted to go and find the stronghold. So I grabbed as many as he would sell me just now, I made them into eyes of ender, and I tossed my first one. And then I just went running. I know I should have taken my horse, but for some reason I like to do this journey on foot. It just feels a lot more authentic, adventurous, I don't really know. Finding the stronghold is a really important part of any playthrough of Minecraft, and it just feels like it holds more weight if you leave the horse and leave the bed back home, and just kind of go off on your own and hope for the best. I wasn't actually planning on going through the portal today, so I was quite liberal with my Eye of Ender use finding the place. Eventually, we came up against this dark oak forest, and when I threw my Eye of Ender this time, it went behind me. This is always a really exciting moment, and it was coming up to be nighttime, and after facing this creeper, I decided rather than try and find the stronghold on foot, since I was pretty sure I was on top of it, I would just dig down in the river. It seemed a bit more safe since I didn't have that bed with me. And it ended up being a pretty good decision because we didn't dig that far down before we got the achievement. We had found the stronghold and it was time to have a little look around. But little did I know that this was actually going to be the longest adventure so far. I was in this stronghold for days, for real life hours. I kept finding this room. I found 3 of these rooms. And I always thought that this room was close to the portal room, but every time I found another one, it would lead me somewhere else. I found 2 libraries, stole as many books as I could, as you can imagine, and still wasn't finding the portal. I would block off every door that didn't lead to the portal so that I wasn't doubling back on myself. And then, eventually, when I was looting this chest, I finally heard the sound of a silverfish. I was getting quite excited because at this point, like I say, it had been quite a long time. But it turns out it was just behind this room. I got rid of the silverfish spawner before they could cause me any trouble, and I put the remaining eyes of Ender that I had into the portal. Now, just like the luck of finding the portal in the first place, it didn't have any Eyes of Ender already in it, so I definitely didn't have enough to get through, but that was okay for me today. I just wanted to find the place. I dug straight up from the portal room so that it would be nice and easy to find it next time. I grabbed the coordinates and headed back home. I have a feeling that we'll be going back there next episode. But for now, that is the end of day 2. Thank you so much for watching them. As always, it is an absolute pleasure to record these for you, and I'm so glad that you keep coming back to watch them again. If you have any questions, comments, or constructive criticism, or if you want to tell me what kind of building you want to see Beppa Pip living inside of, please do leave it in the comments below, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.